The story begins with the wise men going straight to Herod's castle to pay homage to the newborn king. Why wouldn't you? Surely he must be with the existing royal family. But no, he was to be found in a lowly property down the road, nothing special, living with Mary and Joseph, a poor couple as down to earth as you or I, but as special as it's possible to be. Something in Herod's spirit recognised the threat. It seemed ridiculous that a powerful king could be so disturbed by a baby of such humble beginnings. But he knew this baby was anything but ordinary. He would change the status quo and create a radical new kingdom where the supremacy of men like himself would be toppled. This called for ruthless action if he was to be stopped. The most horrendous orders were carried out to kill every baby boy under the age of 2. The rescuer needed rescuing himself at this stage. God was on to it. The wise men were alerted to the danger and didn't return to Herod as they'd been invited to. Joseph, Jesus' earthly father, was given clear guidance through a dream to get his young family away, and hearing this, he acted. Like so many in our 21st century world, Jesus became a refugee, a displaced person, unable to return to his homeland. God, although king above all, chose to become a vulnerable human being without status, relating to the ordinary, the suffering, the needy, people like us.
And so we come to our final passage, Matthew 2, verse 18, quoting Jeremiah. A voice was heard in Ramah, weeping and loud lamentation. Rachel weeping for her children. She refused to be comforted because they are no more. We must turn our attention to a deeply disturbing aspect of the Christmas story, and it's not easy to look at. What about all those mothers who endured agonies of hurt as their infants were slaughtered? Has God forgotten them and left them to their fate as he looks after his own? This is a question that haunts all those who experience the anguish of abandonment. We must face the problems of pain, suffering, and injustice. There is a disease that infects the world with pain and suffering. From ancient times, God promised he would deal with the issue called sin that causes such problem by raising up his anointed king or Messiah. And now we see the clash of two kingdoms as the world is trying to stamp out heaven's rescue plan before it's even got going. But God is biding his time. Jesus may have escaped the murderous intentions of Herod for now. But at just the right time, he'll ride into Jerusalem on a donkey. He'll be greeted as Messiah by the poor and the oppressed, by the lonely and the afflicted, and yes, by infants too. He will be arrested, tortured, and murdered by the rulers. On the cross, you'll experience the same anguish of abandonment as those bereaved mothers. Even in the Christmas story, we hear rumours of Easter. What Herod started will be completed 30 years later. This is the point at which God directly faces this violent, evil world and overcomes it not by avoiding, but by enduring and demonstrating through resurrection a greater power at work. What this episode demonstrates for us is that there are two kingdoms colliding. We can be fooled into thinking this world is okay. People are essentially good. It'll turn out well, but we know it won't. Whilst we do what we can to reduce sorrow and injustice wherever we meet them, ultimately the safest place is with Messiah, Jesus Christ, God's divinely appointed ruler. As we recall this massacre of the infants, our cry is, "Come to the one who chose not to avoid, but to endure and overcome the violent rulers of this current age." At Christmas we look to Easter and beyond. Come to the Lamb who was slain to take away the sins of the world. Come, all you who are thirsty, broken and afflicted. In him alone salvation is to be found.